Okay, greetings everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I got a problem I got to fix here real quick. And in the meantime, if everybody could hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons, make sure to hit that PayPal button, share some love if you can help out. Every little bit counts, 10, 20, 15, 20 bucks, whatever you can help with is greatly appreciated. It helps me continue doing what I'm doing. One of the things which I've got to do is fix these laptops. I just got a new one, burn up the network adapter in it in a week, and so I've got to get that one fixed, as well as this old one. I've got to get all the information recouped from it. Other than that, I hope everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, and loving life. And see what's going on here. In the meantime, the StreamYard link is in the chat section, so you can grab that and hop on the panel if you'd like. And we got that taken care of, and it looks like we are set. And so before we get into it, greetings everybody. The fallen slave slaves us all. We free. Empress Vicky, Travis Turner, Dick, always welcome. Kyland, everybody enjoy the show. And like I said, that StreamYard link is down there. So if you want to come up on panel and enjoy the show with me, always appreciated. And what we're going to talk about today is bench warrants. Now, bench warrants are issued from the bench. A bench warrant is issued from the bench. And the reason that it's issued from the bench rather than the clerk is that the judge makes a determination that a defendant has failed to appear. And as we've discussed before, under personal jurisdiction, the court has to obtain jurisdiction through proper service in the state in which the court sits, telling us that it doesn't have standing yet, and that's why it needs the jurisdiction so it can propose the standing by the plaintiff. Well, the problem with that is that the plaintiff can't give the court personal jurisdiction because the plaintiff doesn't have personal jurisdiction, because the second element of personal jurisdiction clearly states that the defendant must voluntarily appear in court. That's the one statement in plain writing that tells us that no one has jurisdiction until the defendant appears in court. And that appearance becomes a general appearance and a waiver of personal jurisdiction if you don't first give them a special notice, waiving your general appearance. It's all in the wordplay and how it works. It's a process. And they violate the process when you go in and they presume that you are doing so voluntarily when they know that you were coerced under threats, duress, and extortion. And that is the extortion element is that if you don't appear in court, they're going to come back and get you with this warrant. Okay? That's where they instill the fear in you, saying that they're going to come back with a warrant. And that's because you didn't volunteer to appear in court. They can't do that. Okay? That officer on the side of the road is issuing a false security. And like I said, I've signed 11 citations, UCC 1-308. And then people say, well, you're not part of the UCC, so you can't use that. Well, that's because there's a presumption that I am part of the UCC. So if I do use that, and then I go in with the rights reserved, knowing the information, that is what I have a right to. Everybody has a right to know. You don't have a right for anything else but to right to know. This is the benefit, as I've clearly explained many times. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So when that officer pulls you over alongside that road and you don't have that knowledge, what he's actually doing is he's committing extortion by creating a false security at a municipal level, demanding that you appear in court. And he is not a servicer of the process, and he is not a witness, and yet he is playing both parts and saying that if you don't appear, he is going to come back and arrest you, or that somebody will come back and arrest you. That's clearly extortion. Clearly extortion. Creation of a financial instrument along the side of the road, and then under threats, duress, and coercion, telling them that they have to sign it, otherwise they're going to take them to jail. That's violating the process of due process of allowing the defendant to voluntarily appear. You can't do that. So then once you sign it, the signing is saying that you promise to appear. Again, extortion. So let's get into this. What we have here, and I've showed this many times, this is the criminal court case, the civil and criminal cases for a Keith Orland Little on this side. And as you see, sometimes it's Little Keith O. But in the matter of jury service of Keith Little, it's most generally Keith Little. K Little, Keith Little, Keith O Little. And here again, you see Little Keith O, Little Keith O. These are military. Oh, we must have timed out. So let's stop screen sharing. Pull that up again. And what I'll do is I'll start out screen sharing and show you how I pull this up, because this can be done in any state. And here it's called Iowa Courts Online Search. And so it comes up to this page, and you go up here on the right, it says click here to search, click here to pay. Well, we're not here to pay. We don't have any way to pay. So we click here to search, and it says appellate court case search or trial court case search. Now, I never had any actual appeals, so we go to this case search. We enter in the name information. Not a robot. Hit search, and it brings us to that page again. Okay, so let's look at one of these. State versus Keith Orland, and then, or Little Keith Orland, the military style. Let's look at that. SMCR. By trial, interference with official acts. I can prove this one wrong today. At the municipal level, there is no such thing as official or interference with official acts in the federal code. So what they've done is they've made up a law at the municipal level by a municipal publishing company, and instead of saying of interference obstruction of justice, they used like wording and called it interference with official acts. The federal code has no such thing. It has obstruction of justice. Okay. Very clear things that you can look at. Closed. This one here, as you can see, it was from 11 years ago. This was actually an assault charge where somebody claimed I assaulted them. And then in speaking to them after I was released from jail on that assault charge, I was able to clear his mind and help him understand that if he didn't drop the charge, I was going to bring witnesses forth that say that he not only made a false claim, but that he actually assaulted me, and that's why I defended myself. So not only would he be getting an assault charge, but he would also be being charged for making a false claim saying that I assaulted him without disclosing the full facts that he actually assaulted me first, and I would bring those witnesses forth. So this one was closed. Charges were dropped. let's go over here, and I'm going to show you something here. This is 93 cases. And you see all by the birth date until you get down here. All of these here are mine except for 2. You can see this one here has a different birth date. And that's a Keith D. Little. And you can click on that and it'll tell you what the charge is, maximum hours of service violation. So he was a trucker and he went over the hours that he was allowed to log on the road. So we go down here and you can see again, like I said, it ends right here. Now look over here and it tells you how they named the person. Remember, I've spoken about the obligor number. Sally Little versus Keith Little. That was the divorce. And notice how they put it under obligor. Notice this one, same case. They put it as respondent. So they have identified the same person as 2 different people, respondent and obligor. Okay, this is evidence of their fiction. And look here, there's another one that's not the same one. It's Keith Little, or Little Keith D. So there's another one under him. So let's go back up to the in the matter of jury service of Keith Little. And remember, folks, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you're on Hecklebus, be sure to come over and subscribe to El Perro. And if you're on El Perro, go over to Hecklebus and subscribe over there. Be sure to hit that PayPal button if you can share some love. Every little bit counts. And the StreamYard link is there for anybody that wants to come up and join the conversation here. So in the meantime, let's get back to this. And this is the bench warrant for in the matter of jury service of Keith Little. And notice it says title. Okay. Notice it says no disposition records were found. Disposition, that's in regards to your disposition hearing or the initial appearance. They oftentimes call it a disposition hearing because they're going to disposition you. You're in one position and they're going to position you in another position. So if you're in jail and you bond out, what you actually do is you create a surety bond, whereas now you've been dispositioned as the surety. And that's what the disposition hearing is about. They're going to position you as the surety. In this case, there are no disposition records found because the state couldn't serve me, which we'll see that here after a bit. And I never volunteered to appear in court. Now, notice the appearance was a jury duty in the matter of jury service of Keith Little. Now, Keith Little has never registered to vote, so there can't be a duty to serve on a jury, period. It cannot be, okay? So they couldn't disposition me, okay? The next one. This is the summary. The next one, it says exhibits and then parties and then financial. You'll see parties and exhibits. It's going to ask you to log in as a username. So I'm either using it or I'm in possession. Very particular. Like grammar is specific, just like law is specific. So if I have to create a profile here, it's for a use. And I'm taking on a beneficial use. And therefore, they're going to consider me as an investor. Okay? Parties, the same thing. So what does that mean? I can't use the exhibits, and I've got to log in to be a party. So I'm not a party yet because I don't have a username. Just like I tell them in this system, I'm not a party to your system because I don't have a name. It's for use. I don't have a username. Okay, this is the fiction. So let's look at the financials. Now, I want to remind you guys, if there's a duty for jury duty, and everybody gets paid on that jury duty for their service, and we look at the financials, and it says 0 across the board. 0 across the board for financials. Okay. Look at long title. Long title. In the matter of the jury service of Keith Little. It says long title. In the matter of the jury service of Keith Little. No long title found. That looks like a longer title than Keith Little. I mean, Keith Little is the title. In the matter of the jury service of, which is an addendum to that title, is a long title. Notice they assigned a case number, but there's no citation number. They didn't cite anything. They didn't cite anything. There's no code to cite for failure to appear for jury duty. Why is that? Because they cannot require you to register to vote. It's voluntary. They cannot require you to carry ID. It's voluntary. They cannot require you to pay taxes. It's voluntary. They cannot require you to have Social Security. It's voluntary. They cannot require you to pay insurance. It's voluntary. They cannot require you to do anything. So let's look at the bonds. You would think that if they're going to push a case, they would have bonds, right? Oh, goodness. Wait a minute. No bond found, no citation, no long title, no bonds, no finances. What the hell's going on here, folks? Filings. Oh, what's this? Order to issue public hyphen bench warrant. So the judge ordered to issue a public note. Order to issue a public note. It's a note if it is a promise. It's a promise to pay if it's a note. It's an order if it's a draft. So he was drafting, just like the military, they're drafting Keith Little into service. Okay? Through a bench warrant. Bench warrant. I don't care how much they want to rant about it. They're the insane ones. And Andrea Dreyer, in her military capacity as Dreyer Andrea, filed on 1/6 of 2022, almost a year and a half ago now. Comments. Bond set. So she set a bond as $350. That's an asset. That's her ass that's set in a grave. That's her ass that's lying. Notice it says return of service, diligent search. So they made a diligent search, but it was returned for service because they couldn't serve. So they failed service of process, and the defendant failed to or didn't voluntarily appear in court. So they don't have personal jurisdiction yet, and they're posing that they do. Okay? And they issued it to the Black Hawk County Sheriff. Now notice, if it wasn't filed until the 6th, it wasn't created until the 7th, yet the sheriff got it on the 5th. Okay? The order to show cause was on 12/29/21. The application initiate contempt 12/21. So in 8 days they initiated jury contempt. They said jury contempt on 2/9 of 2022. They initiated it on 12/20/20 or 12/21/2021. Two 9/22. That's February 9th of 2022. And yet he had it the January 5th of 2022. How does that work? How do they push this paperwork, huh? And it says show cause civil. Really? So there's a valid contract for the service of Keith Little as a draft order. I wonder what number they're using. Are they using an obligor number or are they using the selective service number? I wonder what number they're using. Are they using a Social Security number? Are they using the obligor number, which is the Social Security number converted by removing the dashes? Or are they using the selective service number? Because it's still a military style name. So they shouldn't be using the Social Security or the obligor. They should be using the selective service. See, because I'm registered for the selective service and they assign that number, I still get to use it. Just like the name, I get to use the name. I get to use the number. 19 CFR 149.3. Whether I'm buying, selling, or on the ship to party, then I get to use a number in lieu of the name and address. See, it's all about usufruct. And when they disposition you, they're dispositioning you from the usufruct position of using that car by claiming the car as the state and then handing you a financial instrument that you then hold and have in your possession. Now you're holding the name and the number, and they created a new number attached to that name and the other name and number. And now you've already been dispositioned because of your belief. That's why I quit signing. You can't get me to sign another one of their instruments. If I'm going to sign anything, it's going to be something I wrote. And it's going to have, I write these words are true and faithful. So let's see what everybody's saying in the comments. And before we do, I want to remind everybody, hit the share, like, and subscribe buttons. Hit that PayPal button. Share some love. Every little bit counts, 10, 15, 20 bucks. And, of course, if you're subscribed to the Heckle Bus and not El Perro, come over and subscribe to El Perro and vice versa. If you're on El Perro and have not subscribed to Heckle Bus, go over there and subscribe to that. That way, if they strike my channel, either one, we can get back up and go at it again, which reminds me that they did strike the YouTube yesterday when I did yesterday's video. They struck it, or excuse me, on Facebook. They struck it on Facebook for a copyright claim in regards to the Saudi Arabia stuff. One of the people that made one of those nice little commercials tried to make a claim, and I had to point him out to the details section where it clearly stated it was for free educational use only, and no content claim and no copyright claims can be made. And they less than 24 hours, they came back. Okay, no problem. And it's up. So it's just a matter of realizing what you're doing and letting the analytics know that you can't pull that bullshit over my eyes. I already made the proper claims. Here it is. You're wrong. You better get it up. Otherwise, I'm getting you for violations of the international treaty of Berne. You violated my original content. I told you it's original content and review it for commentary purposes and free education, because it's your right to know, people. It's your right to know what's going on in the world. And like I've said also many times, now that I've given you the information, now you have a duty. That's where your duty kicks in. See, that benefit of knowledge, it comes with a duty. You don't have any rights. Once you pick up that right, you now have a greater responsibility to uphold it. It's like the forefathers said, you have a republic if you can keep it. You only have rights if you can keep them. You can't expect somebody else to stand up and uphold your rights for you. You have to do that. No other way can it be done. You lazy little bitches. You lazy little slaves. You lazy little cowards. You lazy little cognitive dissonant motherfuckers that will destroy your own lives if you change your mind and decide to believe in what is actually true by knowing it, by following it up with your own lazy asses. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Those that know I'm not talking about them are the ones that know what they're doing, and they're doing it, and they're doing their own research, and they're going to be able to take my words and discern for themselves whether it applies to them or not. All you that want to sit back there and claim that I'm calling you names and you're not lazy, then prove it. Then prove it. Quit crying about your shit and get up and fucking do something. And as you can see, sometimes the doing part is just a little notice. I notice there's no finances. I notice there's no bond. I notice there's, oh, wait a minute. Let me show you something else before I get distracted, because while they're doing this, I forgot the very last important element that will blow your mind, because as we went to filings, we stopped there, but then there's service of returns. Notice there's no parentheses, there's no square brackets around that. So that's going to ask me to provide a username again. Watch. Username. Okay. Same with these other two. Property or lis pendens. This is the liens. If there's any lis pendens in the private side, this is judgment or liens. This is on the public side. Property or lis pendens is on the private side. So if there's any private liens, private collateral, traffic detail is going to be the same thing. Okay. So when you look on this property lis pendens, and you have property down at that local courthouse on the register, like say a warranty deed for a house, you would have a username. Okay. Because, and again, because you entered that shit into their system and they're holding on to it for you. They're carrying that liability for you. And that's the benefit you're taking. And if you don't do it right, and they want to hand that liability back to you, they're going to disposition you and they're going to make you surety. And now you're going to get fucked because they're going to take that property because you're the surety. And they have every right to do it. So let's look at the criminal charges and dispositions. Criminal charges and dispositions. Notice it said civil, right? So anything under a bench warrant has to be a civil contract, period. And that civil contract must be a military issue. Like I showed you in the original, it's not Keith Little. It's Little Keith Orland. That's the original issue. The birth certificate, the enumeration at birth is applicable to the Department of Defense. And so when you go through that hospital and you don't create a birth certificate, they will create one for you. And it will simply be known as Baby Boy Little. They will always place the last name first. That's military style. They know the family lineage it came from. That's all that counts at that point. Now, once that child becomes 18 and wants to sign up for Social Security, then they can put that Keith Orland Little on the record. Until then, it's Little Keith O. Check out your school records. Even the school records will put it down, Little Keith O. Check out the hospital records. Most often, they will even put that down, Little Keith O. As long as you're under your parents' care. Once you turn an adult, you fill out SS5. Now they start putting it at Keith O. Little. Now you've taken on that civil capacity as an adult. Okay, so watch this. Criminal charges. No charges found. No charges found. Yet, if they issue that bench warrant, and any one of them has the power and the pride filled in them to come get me, that right there shows you how stupid they are for not looking it up themselves and making sure that if they're going to go take another man and make merchandise of him for $350, I'm going to come collect every fucking thing he owns. Dryer, Andrea. I don't play games. I do not suggest anybody else play games. It is a matter of kidnapping in every case. If you are posing yourself as one of those children of Israel, it is a matter of kidnapping in every case. So anyway, Again, since I don't have anybody who wants to come up and discuss this, this is the end of the discussion. Remember, folks, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Be sure to hit that PayPal button and share some love if you can. I can always use it. Like I said, I got a couple of computers to fix. I still need a pair of eyeglasses, but I'm not going to cry about it. Like I said, I only got the PayPal button because other people wanted me to. I've been doing this for 5 years without any contributions at all. So I don't need it, but it's certainly appreciated. So, no. Let's make sure that we understand that term arrested first. If they stop you alongside that road, that is kidnapping. They fettered you in your way from point A to point B without proper cause, without proper cause. Just because you have a license plate on that automobile doesn't mean you're in the mix of actually performing commerce at that time, and they have zero evidence that says you are. Therefore, there is no reasonable, articulable suspicion that you've even violated any of those statutes, because under those statutes, you have to be in contract at the time that it occurs. Acquisitions, federal acquisitions regulations, in order for anybody to acquisition anything from you. And that means to stop you and make a financial instrument for you to hold so that you can hand something back over to them so they can acquisition from you something at a future date. It is under the federal acquisitions regulations, and that is 48 CFR 52.12 or 212-5. Contract terms and conditions required to implement statutes, executive orders, commercial products, commercial services. So, Molotov drones. Have you done federal time? I did federal time for a second-degree robbery when I was 18. I am now 57 years old, 56 going on 57 here in August. Almost 40 years later. Went to prison, did my time, never went back. Of course, there's 92 other cases after that say speeding, no license, no insurance, no belt, possession, interference, all kinds of things. Disorderly conduct. So think about this stuff and realize what we're going through is all fiction. Like I said before, that bench warrant we just went over, those are comments. Individually, those are comments made on an electronic filing that is in a public venue that you guys can go look up yourself. All that information I showed you is public information that you can go in and go on the courts online, put my name in there, tell them you're not a robot, and look at it yourself. And you can do this on anybody in every state. And like I said, comment in etymology. One of the first definitions I will put on any sheet that I deal with any of these public servants is that comment in etymology means an invention, fabrication, or fiction. So if you want to invent something up, fabricate something, or create some kind of fiction in your babble in trying to communicate with me, I suggest you get proper with the right message and learn how to put something on the table. What's up, Scott?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
Oh, man, I'm just dealing with this legal fucking fiction that we call the state of being. I've been doing with it for a while. I've, gotten information from you, got information from a number of sources, and just keep kind of whittling it down, putting it together, and trying to create a presentation in my mind that's worthy of, ears, if you will. And my God, I'm dealing with, I don't know if you know the situation. You probably heard it around here. My mom's other house, it was my house where I was living, had to get in. They locked me out. I go away and stay the night here with my mom one night and come back and the doors are locked. Now I'm in possession of this house, and all of a sudden I'm being, kidnapped, taken away, held for ransom, and basically, the only charge that they kept was criminal mischief. So there's no breaking and entering. There's no trespassing. There's no nothing. No burglary. All the stuff that they alluded to went away with the possession and a criminal mischief. Meanwhile, I'm the victim. You know, they stole all my shit. So
Yeah.
it goes back to the bank and, you know, foreclosure stuff. And I mean, I'm sitting here, and I went into the court the other day, and I just told the judge I have to postpone this again because I want to stand up and say a lot, but without a witness, you know, that can attest to that matter or whatever, you know, I don't want to do it. And without someone here covering my mother, that's a questionable thing too. And you know, the person that was supposed to be here at that time, or should I say the caregiver, didn't show up that day. You know, so I called, and mom's still in bed and can't get up because nobody's here. I'm like, isn't this fucking awesome? So I basically told the bailiff, I'm out of here. You can do whatever you want to, but that's not going to change anything unless you physically stop me. Basically, they called me right up. I told the judge, and you know, I actually. For all intents and purposes, as I had possession, I don't think they have a case at all. Pushing it to trial is not what I want to do, but it's what I kind of feel like I need to do for not anybody else but myself. I did nothing. I'm not going to plead, you know, and I'm not getting a lawyer, obviously, for obvious reasons. I mean, there's no use in getting a lawyer. They're liars. Every chance I've ever even suspected one was going to be honest, they were lying. I mean, I pretty much granted myself that wisdom through trial and error. So now I got a couple things going on, and I missed. Did you get into Derek's class today?
No, I don't know what the deal. He never sent me the link. Otherwise, I'd be over there now. It's kind of disheartening because I can't get a hold of him. I called him, I've emailed him, I've messaged him. I really wanted to be a part of the class.
Yeah, myself as well. And I kind of got caught up in a number of things, you know, this, i.e. mom, you know, health issues. She fell last week. It's a couple of things went on. So needless to say, not for nothing, because I've been handling this in this manner, the judge has, not the judge, I wouldn't say the judge has, but the pressure that I feel makes me feel like the county here or somebody is after me. My mom had a bad, episode with some infection inside, and it caused her to go a little bit loopy. And so I took her to the hospital. Actually, had called 911, had the ambulance come get her, and I followed her there and find out it was urinary tract infection. They sent DCF out. The next thing you know, this lady's all basically bullshitting, saying that I wouldn't let her talk to my mom when I gave her an hour and a half to talk to my mom alone out back. Literally, said, I don't really care. I've got nothing to hide. I knew mom wasn't real well being out of the hospital, but I wasn't worried about that. This lady came back with one of the guys, I don't recall if all of them had it. One said SWAT on his uniform. They weren't in stormtrooper uniforms or anything, but I videotaped the guy that had SWAT on. He was with me the most of the time. I let him talk to her, and they're basically trying to push an issue of whether or not I did something, or I guess if I'm not doing something right with my mom. Meanwhile, we had caregivers and everything, so catch 22. But the state, I think they're trying to push me because I'm pushing back. And there's another issue that I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you, before we get into other issues, I'm telling you guys, and I'm going to read this statement I sent to him. Somebody asked, what's happened to the case? Well, nothing's happened to the case. And the reason is because I've acted on it myself, and they've acquiesced. Okay. And this is what it's all comes down to your communications, folks. Every last bit of it comes down to learning how to communicate. And this is why I say, when you guys see me up here on these panels and I get all emotional and passionate and shit, this is totally different than the way I communicate in private. I guarantee you. So pay attention as I go through this.
Yeah.
This is a short little response, and you can see it's February 16th of 2022. Okay.
God rest his soul. That was my father's birthday.
Awesome. So this is in response. You remember it was 1/6 of 2022 that Andrea Dreyer entered it, filed it, And within less than a month, I found it. I realized it, because I always check my stuff online. I tell you, I call the treasurer every 6 months and make sure that there's no claims against the number and stuff. And this is one of those things I check. And when I checked and found out they put this warrant out, I wrote them a little notice. Greetings to all officers, agents. This is in regards to 19 USC 81O, federal, state, or municipal officers or agents. Every last one of them. So that means if you're presenting yourself as a resident and claiming to be a resident, this applies to you. Every last one of you. I come to you in peace, with knowledge, in forbearance of your duties. Specifically, Sheriff, and this here is Tom Little. Coincidentally, the same last name, no relation. Thank goodness. It would be to your own advantage to learn the reality of personal jurisdiction, as I myself have knowledge that you may, in fact, be involved in what would technically be evidenced in statutes and codes as kidnapping. I know these are serious allegations and hope that they are not taken as a threat, as that is not my intent. I merely wish to displace, disposition. Get it? It's the same term. I just used a different way of saying it. I merely wish to displace the confusion with knowledge. First, there are basically only two presumptuous jurisdictions of which you practice, and those are civil and criminal. And notice it says presumptuous because they are not factual. Period. None of their jurisdictions, get this, folks, none of their jurisdictions is factual. It is a belief. It is a belief. Look up the term legal fiction, and you will see it is a presumption of the facts presented to a court. All you have to do is break that presumption, because the county attorney goes to the court and lays the presumption that they have personal jurisdiction, and that is an impossibility. When one looks at the rules for your courts, they distinctly express one form of action: civil. So even in the criminal cases, it's a civil disposition of surety. Comprehend that. Even in criminal, it is a civil disposition of surety in a civil venue. This places an inconsistency in the actual enforcement to begin with, considering that those would be based upon the subject matter first. You cannot convert criminal actions to a civil action. And they did so in their codes, and everybody believes it. And they did that by laying a presumption, by claiming that the criminal person in the legal name, not the common law, wherein the man with the given name Keith, please rise. Any family members that support him, please show your condolences. So the subject matter is first. You have to be subject as matter of their jurisdiction first. In other words, you have to be fiction first and foremost to be subject to those courts. Second, but foremost, is the fact that no one can just have personal jurisdiction because of the stated subject matter. You cannot have jurisdiction over Tom Sawyer simply because you're reading Tom Sawyer. You cannot have personal jurisdiction over Tom Sawyer simply because you read the term Tom Sawyer. See, it clearly states in your codes, United States Code, to which all states ceded their statutory jurisdiction through contract form, C48 CFR 52.212-5, that I just quoted, contract terms and conditions required to implement statutes executive orders - commercial item or commercial services, commercial products. That personal jurisdiction of the defendant can only be had by one's voluntary appearance. So even if they served you in the state in which the court sits, you still have a choice. Just because they served you doesn't mean that their demand that you show up in their court is valid. As quoted from LII Wex Cornell Law School, obtaining personal jurisdiction, typically for a court to have personal jurisdiction over a defendant, the plaintiff needs to serve the defendant in the state in which the court sits, again telling us they don't have standing, and the defendant needs to voluntarily appear in court. Federal Rules of Civil Procedure Rule 4K describes whether a state's courts would have the authority to adjudicate a claim as it relates to personal jurisdiction. So we see, no matter what jurisdiction is stated as subject matter and without regard to personal jurisdiction, the basis of state court authority rests with territorial jurisdiction, which must be clarified and not assumed. Territorial jurisdiction is under U.S. Code 18 U.S.C. 7, special territorial maritime jurisdiction of the United States. And that is the overlay of the legal fiction, which is a presumption that it exists in every state when it doesn't. It doesn't exist until the defendant appears in court and qualifies the obtaining of personal jurisdiction. In that appearance in court, the defendant, without knowing, is a waiver of personal jurisdiction. So unless you go in and validate that you're not waiving personal jurisdiction and that you're specifically making a special appearance to hand over directly your directive in the constructive trust that they are trying to perform in public, is an issue of privacy and needs to be handled in chambers, nowhere else. If you don't believe me, you'll believe the word of God, because I'll have you swearing on that Bible, not me. This is to prevent you from trading with the enemy, as noted in Trading with the Enemy Act in regards to judicial activities, or making any erroneous entries into the ledger or record. See, by you stating that I can't do this or I can't do that, you're giving me legal advice. And by you telling me that you're going to have somebody arrest me if I walk out of this court is, again, giving me legal advice in threats, duress, and coercion, and it's known as extortion. You either do this as I say, or this is going to happen. That's not what he tells me. Forcing people to attend court through threats or arrest or illicit. I see it. I see it. Warrants for a volunteer participant would be against the duty of knowledge, because as a knowledgeable person, knowing the prerequisites, I am not a resident, I'm not a United States citizen, and pursuant to Rule 17 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, the plaintiff and defendant capacity as being a public officer, I cannot fulfill. I can't do it. It's an impossibility. Would be against the duty of knowledge. Remember, you all have the duty to one another and to God in your capacity of a public servant in trust. My service in public is to you. I don't need a contract. I don't need an oath. I don't need a paycheck. And my public service is giving you the knowledge. You don't like it? That's okay. I don't care. But you have a duty. Just like I do. It's that simple. It's that plain. It's plain writing. I am hoping to get a positive response, as I intend no harm, but rather to help correct things that are terribly wrong with the minds and hearts of man these days. I ask that all of you seriously consider the circumstances for which one is placing their physical control over another, and only do so as a matter of peace and love and not for a paycheck. I cannot grant such personal jurisdiction, for I have no such person. You get it? Reverently, Chaplain Keith. John 5:13. These things have I written unto you that believe on the name of the Son of God, Jesus, that ye may know that ye have eternal life, and that ye may believe on the name of the Son of God. 2 Corinthians 1:22. Who hath also sealed us, faith under seal, and given the earnest of the Spirit in our heart, where we earn our daily work and our daily bread. Romans 8:38 and 39. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. Ephesians 2:8. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God. See, it's not faith in yourself. It's faith in God. Shut it! It is the gift of God. This is the providence of his grace. When I speak of the providence of grace, that's where it comes from. Nobody else provides your favor. No one. But the source of life. Every breath you take is that same favor repeated time and again. Philippians 1:6. Being confident of this very thing. I am confident. Forever acknowledging the faith that I have in his will, so that I can do the good works that are profitable unto men. That which he hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. 1 John 5:10-13. Hold on, folks. Get inside. Get. Stay. All right. Sorry about that. John 1:5-10-13. He that believeth on the Son of God hath a witness in himself. This is the second coming of Christ, folks. In my concept is when you come to the realization of the parables of Jesus and how he walked his life, and realize that your word means nothing anymore. In your communications, in your conversations and everything, the true reality is the message. And that's something that's supposed to flow through you. Age. You're of the age of being able to discern the words of Christ and God, and be able to pass them as earnestly as you can in solid truth, as you perceive them in all of your own truths, so that others can see that and have that same confidence to boldly speak as I ought to. He that believeth not God hath made him a liar, because he believeth not the record that God gave of his Son. And that's the faith that God was showing in mankind, that he was going to give his own Son, that enough people in this world would believe in that to become his army of angels, in that faith, in that confidence, in going forth and showing people how to live with love. And that doesn't mean you live your life without anger. You have to read those scriptures and realize the differences between the righteous anger and the jealous anger. They're two different things. And this is the record that God hath given to us eternal life, and this life is in his Son. That's being able to look over the entire record of eternity, and being able to discern for yourself what is true, loving, and righteous. You don't need somebody else to tell you that. You really don't. He that hath the Son hath life, and he that hath not the Son of God hath not life. These things have I written unto you that believe on the name of the Son of God, that ye may know that ye have eternal life, and that ye may believe on the name of the Son of God. Psalms 121 or 122:7. peace be within thy walls. These are the walls. The skin is my wall. Image of God moves upon the face of the waters. And this is the waters. This is my wall, the Spirit of God, image and likeness. And prosperity within thy palaces. And the prosperity is the knowledge. Again, it's not the materialistic things. Jeremiah 33:6, behold, I will bring it health and cure, and I will cure them, and will reveal unto them the abundance of peace and truth. And that's the cure, the knowledge. That's what makes you diseased. It's not having the knowledge, and you have to believe on something instead of having the knowledge and confidence. So instead you have belief and fear that if you don't do it right, something bad might happen. Sick perversion and indoctrination. Psalm 16:8, I have set the Lord always before me as set. That is my asset. As we spoke in that bond, that's Andrea Dreyer's asset, that $350 bond, and her ass is set. Because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. So if they want to come move me and kidnap me for $350, I'm going to up that bond that is now set at $3,500 because it's only 10%. See, I guarantee you that $350 they placed on that public record, there's a $3,500 bond in the background. Guess what I'm going to do? They ever want to come get me? Come get me. See, I'm the principal. I know how to play this game. That $3,500 bond ain't worth my time. It's $3.5 million. Now sit down and let's play this fucking game. Psalms 40 verse 2. He brought me up also out of an horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock and established my goings. That's where we bring in that Psalms 121 verse 8. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Job 11:18, and thou shalt be secure, because there is hope. Yea, though thou shalt dig out about thee, and thou shalt take thy rest in safety, not surety. Not surety, in safety, because you already are secure. You don't need a surety bond to secure you. Okay. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. My people are perished for lack of knowledge. 1 Timothy 5:8, but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And if you're not going to be a priest on me, I cannot save you. And if I can't save you, I can't save your children. You lazy fucks. The sole function of a warrant of arrest is to achieve a defendant's court appearance in a criminal action. The sole function of a warrant of arrest is to achieve a defendant's court appearance in a criminal action for the purpose of arraignment upon the accusatory instrument, a civil instrument for a criminal action. You see it, folks? By which such action was commenced. That does not say that no matter whether civil or criminal, it is an instrument. So that instrument, when that officer pulls you over and gives you a citation, a traffic citation, that instrument, if it happens to be a citation for driving while suspended, that's a criminal offense under a civil instrument. You get it? And there's a link there for it. And I'll drop this thing there too. The doctrine of exemption, frustration, force majeure is very important in the area of contract and commercial law. It is a doctrine deeply rooted in fairness and allows a party to be excused from performing an obligation in a contract if at the conclusion of the contract an inhibition beyond the foreseeable control of the party happens to render the performance of the contract impossible. At the conclusion of the party, it's an unforeseeable thing that I can't perform personally because I don't have a person to play in this fucking idiotic Monopoly game. I don't have a player piece. I do not have the proper equipment. I am not equipped. I don't have the safety pads. I don't have the helmet. I don't have the right armor. Do you not see the armor I'm wearing? It is not of like kind. I think it's pretty simple, folks. And that's the result. Is they still haven't come got me. It's been a year and a half. I gave them notice very shortly after I found out, which is very shortly after they issued it. And they've acquiesced. They have not responded. So I don't care if I haven't fulfilled that full portion of the administrative process. They want to come at me again. It's still an admission here that they failed to acknowledge the first time. So it's just a matter of reiterating what I iterated the first time. And then they have to acknowledge that they acquiesced that time. So don't try to bring up a new issue here. Let's go back to the original issue that you issued and then acquiesced. That's the playing field. That's the battleground. Those are the weapons. Those are the tools. You don't get to go to the bank and buy more chips and go to another table. It's not the way this game is played, folks. And like I said, I know how to play that game. You want to bring a $350 bond as 10% for a $3,500 bond in the background and name me as the principal? Guess what? I'm worth a whole lot more than that. Let's see how much your ass is worth, because I'm going to make it worth it. $3.5 million. Now let's sit down. Do you have enough chips to cover your fucking ass or not?
That's going to be a tough question to answer for some of them. When I was talking to the cop that was here the other day, I asked him if he understood that the bond that he has is a community bond, basically shared between all of them. And if he has a new family and, he wants to protect us, I saw a ring on his finger. I said, you should go get your own insurance. He's like, what do you mean? I'm saying, your bond is insurance. Insurance is a bond. They're one and the same. And if you're not insuring yourself, well, then you're relying on their insurance. And
you can get their insurance, or you can provide your own surety bond, or get a surety bond through them, or you can provide your own fidelity bond.
Yeah, so I basically
What sounds better? Buying into their game once on one level or another, or providing your own rules?
Absolutely, your own rules. I mean, that's the way this should be. It's incredible that the servants, the maids, the butlers, the fucking, the janitors are running the fucking show. That they're collecting money and saying, you owe us, go to work. And it's just amazing that, if you don't do what they say, they'll hold you with deadly force. I mean, here, I got bullets. I got a gun. You fucking do what I say. Again, you're the public servant. How the fuck are you turning this on me? You're supposed to protect me. It's the guy that's pointing a gun at me you're supposed to point the gun at, not be the guy pointing a gun. Like Chase Allen, I mean, the prime example. I mean, this kid is just sitting there saying, I'm not who you say I am.
Yeah, and that comes down to the very principle of every court case. The parties must be identified to such a certainty that there is no mistake. Must.
Would you believe me if I told you the judge in this case that I'm dealing with put a PowerPoint together 5 years ago for a talk? There's only been 164 views on it. We should get him some more views. Would you believe one of the first slides he shows is the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Not a doubt in my mind. It's one of the most profound cinematic presentations that they put out over time that people really need to pay attention to, because it's telling you the true story of that surety and how it works and how you fall asleep in that poppy field. You're looking for the wrong poppy. This patriotic setup you're looking for the wrong poppy, and that poppy that you're inhaling deeply of is putting you to sleep through the indoctrination of their spells. You're literally born in a spell of illness and then sent off to a public education indoctrination camp.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
It's pure insanity. But then he goes on to explain law, and how it all applies and how the different jurisdictions meld in, right from the top down and then the bottom up. Just kind of makes you go, whoa. They are, and I don't know, but he believes everything he says, that would be the appearance that he's trying to portray. And my God, it's just, for all intents and purposes, if he does believe it, you kind of feel sorry for him. But if he doesn't, he's trying to sell us all on this, then, it's unjust enrichment. It's just private personal gain through mass fraud.
Yeah. And everybody that holds that public office, it's an emoluments violation. And that's why I say my public service. Scott's got him outside his front door.
Again, this is how it works around here. They fucking then. Oh well, hold on, guys. Let me go check this shit out. Hold on.
But yeah, it's a matter of like I said, learning how to communicate with people in the proper sense by first relearning those words again, so that when you do your research on this stuff, you can see what's going on. And I urge everybody, every time they bring a case against you, get online and find that case and find out what's going on with all that paperwork. I guarantee you're going to find the inconsistencies and the impossibilities. And with a calm, reasonable mind, you can set it down on paper and give them a notice. It's that simple.
It's the neighbors again. It's always the neighbors.
Yeah.
It's always the neighbors. Speaking of that, let's say I have a buddy, Joe the neighbor. Let's say Joe the neighbor, and his wife just happened to get a call one day, and they say, "Oh yeah, we were tripping around and we found out you had some stuff on your computer, so we need to do a search now of your house. Come in with a search warrant and basically find, the show you just were on, OTWs, the other day, with the trolls that stopped by, all claiming Paul to be something because he was questioning whether or not, okay, well, let's not define the word unless we know what the circumstance is, because there's a difference between prepubescent and otherwise. So let's not go putting too many definitions to things until we know what the circumstance is. But yeah, I would agree. I'd probably kill anybody with a child. That would be my take on it. And I could give you, my personal opinion if you wanted it. But let's move past that. Let's say the neighbor's computer gets, basically through some cyber awareness program hacked into, and then they find a couple of files that were downloaded with like a music, style app. They came in, he downloads music, he found these files, and it shows that he clicked on them once or twice, and, there's evidently some underage, but we're talking about 15, 16-year-old pictures on a computer.
And that's why I urge everybody to be very careful on what you're doing. And again, like I said, set up your own private site so you can do your stuff from there, and make sure that you're setting up a private email, all of that stuff, so that when it goes through the cybersecurity system, the system itself should flag that stuff. Even when you're downloading files, it should flag that stuff. And again, like I said, I've had my original email account is a Yahoo email account that I've had for 25 years, shortly after they started email. And that's where I keep most all of my files. It's one of the most secure things out there because it started out as the first email thing, and it's been on the top of the technology thing right from the start, when it comes to that cybersecurity. So even though it's a commercial site, it's still a very secure site.
So Joe gets a knock on the door, lets him in, and says, I got nothing to hide. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. They take all his equipment and everything, and then they start, telling him, hey, here's the deal. You're under arrest, blah, blah, blah. Take him down. He lawyers up. Lawyer takes fucking 50 grand of his money and then says, oh, you don't like it? Then you can just fire me. But she's telling him, cop a plea, cop a plea. And meanwhile, there's no victim here. I mean, now, obviously, there's a victim somewhere in the picture here, obviously. But on the screen here, he's just a dipshit for fucking looking at it more than a second. You know, I mean, if you saw something like that, you had no fucking idea that something like that was on your computer. You turn it off, you fucking delete the file. You go, what the fuck is that? Okay, that's what you do. But if he looked at it again, okay, well, is he guilty of anything? Bad judgment, probably some ill morals. But as the fucking dipshit yesterday said to Paul, well, I think it might lead to something. What? Fuck off!
Yeah.
Don't go putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah. Well, and that's why they use it against people like that, because it does lead to things like that in the future. If you've got that kind of material on your laptop or your devices and stuff, and you haven't done anything about it, how long has it been on there? Has it been on there just a few months? How old is the guy? Is he just a young guy?
No,
But if you let it go, and there's a years worth of several years worth of compilation, those are the ones that tend to say, yeah, he's fixated on it. It's when they go in and they find these people that might have one or two files that, like he said, evidently it was just mixed in there out of an old file and somehow he missed it. That's competently a dismissal of charges. Hey, we can understand a mistake in that, but it's when they see this stuff repetitively over time and again, and it's usually because they start checking them out, even if they see just one thing. So there is a thing of discretion where they're able to go in and do that kind of thing. Well, this guy's evidently just downloaded a bad file because that was 2 years ago and there's never been any activity on it. He's never looked up any other files and added to it. They use these algorithms for their investigation, and they're doing them on you long before you even get any charges.
This attorney walked him right into a plea agreement where he threw away fucking 10 years of his life, as he's only fucking 68 years old. So possibly the rest of his life. He's already been beat up in jail. And, I literally, this is a true story. I literally am trying to figure out what to do to get this guy some help. Because what the fuck? I mean, okay, so there is a victim, but as far as it being his victim, he was looking at a 2-dimensional computer screen. And we don't have any evidence that says he was doing it with any repetitive nature. I mean, it came up a couple times. You see where it came from. You know that maybe it was saved in a file and he revisited it. He did type in the search engine trying to figure out what an acronym meant. So it looks like he was trying to figure out what it meant, what that was actually referring to. And everything is acronyms these days. So I mean, Jesus Christ, what is it? OMG, stuff like that. I mean, an older guy wouldn't know any of it, especially more complicated ones that refer to the LGBTQ fucking. I liked your acronym for that one. Let's get Biden to quit.
Yeah.
Not bad. So,
Yeah.
But
well, real quick here, guys, hit that share, like, and subscribe button for me. And again, there's that PayPal link pinned to the top. If you can share some love, every little bit counts. 10, 15, 20 bucks. Helps keep me going, helps keep me motivated, shows me you appreciate what I'm doing. And back to Scott.
What do you do for a guy like that? That's literally his life is fucking in peril now. I mean, I'm working to try and put together a letter to help his wife with the administrative process to get him out of this fucking jam.
The first thing is always to get rid of the fear and unlearn everything you've always been taught, and that's a hard process for people. And like I said, it destroys their life. They've been caught up in this cognitive dissonance through the indoctrination so long that they try to fix one thing and they find they have to fix everything, and that destroys their whole life. They have to change their lifestyle. There's no way around it. If you're really going to be truthful and honest about this, you have to change your lifestyle. You got to quit chasing that bag, as they say. That's the wrong bag.
Well, that's it. I knew a long time ago that money bag, there's something wrong with it. And I mean, not for nothing. Everything that I've seen with money has been kind of dirty, kind of ugly, kind of underhanded, kind of sleazy, and I've seen a lot over the years. And I keep wondering to myself, what is the sense? And it's just, it's Caesar being Caesar. and the collective is Caesar. I mean, we have a collective that is deemed themselves. It's very.
Well, yeah, and that's what people have to realize. Like I said, a trust shall not fail for want of trustee. So if you get rid of that third party, the collector, and just give it freely, guess what happens? The whole thing fixes itself. I guarantee you. That's all I'm doing.
Explain what you mean by that. How do you get rid of the third party? Through notice and opportunity to cure?
Yep.
And the third party would be the state of and all its fucking factions.
Nope.
Nope.
That would be me.
You're the third party.
Yep. Customer agrees to make third party payment so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account. You have a grantee and a trustee and a customer that wants to take advantage of the benefits, but the customer is not doing it right. He's paying for shit instead of directing the transfer of credits. And Dre Vasquez's right. That's all about correcting the record. I'm sorry. I repent. Please forgive me for the accidents, which is nothing but a bunch of repeated, continuous exposure to the same conditions, wherein I was allowed to put up a liability on the public record where I didn't expect or intend to, and I believe I was qualified as insured, and therefore the insurance should take care of it. You shouldn't be charging me. So with that, I think we're about done. And like I said, folks, it really is a matter of learning how to use those words appropriately so you can communicate with them appropriately. That's all it takes. You get rid of that third party by get rid of the person that you communicate through and do that communication yourself.
Letter to the courts or something to get rid of the
third. Whoever you're dealing with, like the bench warrant. I sent that out to everybody. Blackhawk County, the board of directors, the mayor, the county commissioner, the district attorney, Andrea Dyer, the state judicial attorney, the state secretary, all kinds of people. Shotgun blast. I let them all know. Any one of you want to try to enforce this, I'm going to show how stupid you are in court.
What would you say? I mean, they've gone on and they've created a case. They've gone and created the bonds for 3 different charges and everything that I signed. I mean, they forced me to sign. They said, "You want to get out of here? Then you have to sign." And I'm like, "Well, I can't stay here.
Obligation. I understand now that when I was forced to sign, it was taking upon a surety.
I signed under duress.
Yeah, everything as surety. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's under duress or not, but as surety, as I'm acting right now, as the way you want me to act, I demand subrogation. Learn about subrogation. Write up your own letter rogatory. There you go. Boom. There's all kinds of solutions to this stuff. But again, I urge you to just correct the record. I'm sorry, I can't be surety. You can't have personal jurisdiction. The personal jurisdiction you think you had, that you forced me to come in here with, doesn't exist. Show me where it exists in the laws of the United States.
It's in their fucking foreign charter. It's in the
Show me where it exists in the laws of the United States.
I think I missed the question. What is it that you're looking for? The
username, Little Keith Orland. Show me Keith Orland Little exists.
What if the judge says, "Well, you're not"?
See, now it poses that inconsistency. It's Keith Orland Little here. It's Little Keith O here. It's Little Keith Orland here. It's Keith O Little here. It's Keith Little here. It's Little Keith here. Which one?
Who, what, where, when, why, and how? I need answers to all those questions.
They styled Keith Little 8 different ways in my last case.
Whoa, shit.
They won't get me in that court again because of that. Like I said, I went back and did all my research. Now I understand it all. They were using 8 different jurisdictions. The whole time they were doing it, they were switching jurisdictions by what's known as forum shopping. They just changed the forum. And if it's too bad, they just changed the corporation. You know, if one of us goes after them so bad that they have to change the corporation, what they do is they shut down the old corporation, change the corporation name, get a new Dunn's number or a new Sam's number, and boom, they're up and operating again.
Jeez,
but now the entity that you're suing no longer exists.
They got it all figured out.
That's why you go after the man, because it's not the person that's doing it.
It's the man behind the person.
So anyway,
thanks for your time, Keith. I do appreciate it.
Yep, I want to let everybody know I appreciate you showing up and hitting the share, like, and subscribe. Please do it again. We got to get this information out. Like I show, you know, I know what I'm doing. I do my research. I show you what I'm doing. I showed you the letter that I sent them, and again, there's still no response. They haven't come pick me up. They've been around here many times. I continue to tell them, you trying to tamper with a witness? They don't want any of that. They know I don't play games. They know I'm not going to sign any of their documents. That's very well known. I refused that entire case last time, and I let them know, walking out the jail, I'm not going to sign any of your documents. Well, we can't let you out then. Really? I was out of there quicker than I've been in 30 years because I just told them the truth. You're not going to hold me. I already know this. Why? Because this document says otherwise, and this is what you believe in. You believe in these words, not me. It's not me that believes in it. It's you. Just like the scripture. It's not me that believes in that scripture. It's everybody else. And I get the grand providence of grace of being able to use them against them because they don't understand them, yet they believe them.
You talking about that letter from Facebook's greetings to all officers, agents? Is that what you handed them when you would have signed the name?
Yeah, that's when I told, when they issued that bench warrant, I went and did my research, and then I issued them that letter noticing that if you act on that warrant, it's going to be kidnapping. I don't give a fuck about all the details not being true. You come act on that warrant, I'm going to show you how it's kidnapping. See, I didn't give them the face up on looking at that what I looked at. I just told them that, hey, notice I didn't tell them there's no finances, that there's no bond, that there's no charges, that there's none of this and none of that and none of that. I just told them if you act on it, it's going to be kidnapping. That's what I'm going to charge you with. Right. And it's going to have valid charges, unlike your little bench warrant there that has no finances, no long title, no bond, no nothing. So I don't know what you're operating on. So anyway, again, I appreciate everybody showing up. God bless y'all. I love you. You know the rest of it. We'll see you again next time. I think I might even be back a little bit later tonight, being Saturday night, to do some contract clauses through the Postal Service. So be watching for that. Meantime, God bless. Thanks for joining.